Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GITGUDRacing.com. I've coached hundreds of drivers, from real-life racers to sim enthusiasts, who experience rapid improvement after just one session. And while investing in top-notch hardware is great, imagine how much more you can elevate your experience by adding coaching to the mix. My methods are practical, aiming to break down complex concepts into easily digestible bits that are simple to understand. You can find reviews of the sessions I've conducted on the Fiverr link provided in the video description. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Now for the track guide. Turn 1 could be easily a hit or miss in this lap, since you can really use all the available track on the exit and gain a lot of time. So what you have to do firstly is to use all this entry curve. As you notice here on the grass, I already have some tire marks. That's because I tried to open up the corner as much as possible, and you know you're gonna use all the curve whenever you can barely feel the grass on the left tire. So that's what I'm aiming for here. So while approaching this corner, you really want to mount this curve. That's gonna be the first key. Now I'm looking at the 50-meter board, and as soon as this car on the left is not in my sight, right now I'm turning and I'm applying a bit of the brakes. Because this car doesn't have a lot downforce, a lot more downforce than, let's say, Super Formula Light or SF23, you can get away with braking while turning. But usually you just want to try to delay your braking so that you will turn first and then you brake. In this instance, it's happening at the same time for me. I found that it was a bit more consistent to do it like that. So right before the 50, when the car starts disappearing from the left side, you're gonna turn, brake, and don't brake more than 5%. So I'm aiming to hit that 5% while trailing and immediately be back on power. Like right now, I'm already back on throttle. So this is how early you can be back on power. So you don't want to wait up until you hit this apex, this curve. You want to be on power way earlier, so you can gain all the time on the exit. So right now I'm already back on throttle. I'm building up the throttle, and at this point on the curve, I'm having like 32% power. This is gonna be key here, being early on power, but also getting very close to this yellow sausage, this red sausage curve without touching it. That's gonna be also key. Now putting the power down, and after the curve, I'm already back to 100%. And on the exit, surprisingly, this wasn't an off track. So the off-track limit is having the right part of the car, like the right tires, on this curve right here. So right now, even though the antenna is all the way to the left, it's still not an off-track because I have my right tires on the blue and white curve. However, this is like the absolute limit that you can use. I was very lucky to not pick this off track. What I would recommend is to be just a bit later on throttle than I was. So I was very early on power. You can delay just a bit, but it will still be before you hit the apex. And you see here that I'm gaining a lot of time. So you will measure how well you take the corner by how much time you're on power. If you see that your lift is bigger, you will try to make it shorter, and also you will try not to overdo it with the brake. You don't want to brake very hard. Just barely tap the brakes, 5% braking, and then move into the corner. Now for next one, my reference for braking is the 100-meter board. At the 100, I'm applying the brakes, and what I want here is to brake in a straight line and use this curve on the left side. So right now I'm mounting this curve, I'm peaking around 80% braking, and while turning I aim to get very close again to this red sausage curve without touching it. And as soon as I'm on the curb, I'm already back on power. This is gonna be key. This is one of the most important corners of the track, just because it's a huge straight afterwards. And because we have this huge straight, the earlier we're gonna be on power, the more time we're gonna gain. So here is a game of putting the power down as soon as possible. So right here at the curb, you should be already back on power. Make sure that your car track outs wide to this part of the track. You don't want your car to be on the right side. since we have enough downforce to make the next corner without lifting, you just want to push the car deep into the corner and carry a lot of minimum speed. So being back on power right now, you will cut this curve like that, and you will get pushed on the right side of the track. If you find yourself that you're more on the left side, it means that you don't have enough speed. Now going into the hairpin, this is a corner that I did a mistake in the lap. I lost like 1/10, maybe a bit less, but 1/10 I would say, just because I'm braking way too late. So the braking point is the 100-meter board. You want to brake at the 100, not past it, otherwise it's gonna be very difficult. I braked a bit later than I wanted to, and I also had a bit of laziness with the downshifts. So as soon as you touch the brakes, your left hand should go like this. You should try to downshift as quickly as you can, just because every millisecond that you're gonna downshift earlier, it translates to more efficiency under braking. So you will make this corner easier if you're gonna downshift quicker. You will brake in a straight line, heavy braking, and you will try to hit this apex around here. But because I'm carrying a lot of speed, I'm not losing that much. So I'm losing 1/10, maybe a bit less, just because I'm carrying a lot of speed. So the car was very oversteery, but I managed to correct it. However, I would recommend to not do this approach. Generally, it's better to hit apexes, even though you're a bit slower. That's a good starting point for you to learn the track, and then you will try to go quicker and quicker and carry a bit more speed, but still being a bit more closer to the apex. Moving into the next corner, this is a flat out. You just want to be on the right side on the exit. Like right now, you're gonna be a bit in the middle and then bring it very quickly to the right side. This is important actually, because if you're gonna spend too much time in the middle of the track, then you won't have a proper entry for the next corner. And the next corner is again important because it leads to the second biggest straight, I would say, of the track. And you're gonna brake at the end of this curve here, or at this exit road on the right side, braking in a straight line, braking very hard, using a bit this curve on the left side. And now it's again, you want to be very close to this red sausage curve without actually touching it at the moment that you're at the curve, or just a slightly bit later, but ideally at the moment that you're on the curb, you want to be back on throttle. The earlier you're gonna be on throttle, the better it's gonna be. Then you want to reposition on the left side so you can cut this green curve on the right. And right now it's just a big straight up until the next corner. The next corner is a high-speed corner. I use as a reference for turning in this pole on the left side, this metallic thing right here, white metallic color. Where I'm at it, I'm turning the car into the corner, and exactly like I said in turn 1, try to first turn and then brake. So right now I'm braking, and I don't want to brake with more than 10%, so holding like 5% brake pressure. And when you are at the green curve, you should already be back on power. Cut this curve just a bit, and then I don't really recommend using all the track here. For me, I brake just a bit too little, and I drop the brakes from 10% to 5% too little, too fast, and because of that I'm using all the curve. Generally it's gonna be it's not even a tenth, it's like 0.03 quicker if you will be not using this part of the track right here, because when you go like this, the car will bottom out a bit, just because the right side of the car is a bit taller than the left side, and there's a moment in which the traction is not ideal up until you get back on the curb. So you will lose like 0.02, 0.03 if you're gonna use all the track. This is one of the examples in which you don't want to use all the track. So try to hook that curb on the inside a bit better, and then you will have a better exit. Now for the next corner, braking is at the 50, or whenever the track changes color. You see this star mark is a bit darker than the one that we had previously. Brake in a straight line, and then you just have to trail brake and follow this white line right here. Don't touch this yellow, this blue and white curve. This is gonna make your car basically jump in the middle of the track and track out wide. So don't touch it at all costs. Don't touch this, just touch the white line. And whenever you're putting the power down, make sure that you either do one of these two lines. So what I'm doing here, I'm not using the curb on the right side, I'm not using it at all. This is one of the line. The other line is if you use it all the way to the grass. That line is gonna be just a little bit quicker, like it's gonna be maybe 1/10 quicker at most. But it's gonna be a lot more difficult to pull it off just because you have to modulate the power very aggressively and the car can spin in the previous corner. So if you're gonna use all the track, make sure that you're very in touch with the car and you will feel it, you will feel what's happening because you can easily spin. However, there's no in between. It's either you don't use it at all or you use it all the way, because if you're gonna use it, if you're gonna put like your right tire on the blue and white curb, let's say in the middle of the green and blue and white curb, your car will bottom out again. You will have the right side of the car a bit more taller than the left side, and you will lose a lot more than in the previous corner. You can lose like 1/10 here just because you're using something in between. You don't want to do that. Now for this corner, this is easy flat, and this one as well. And now you just want to push the car all the way to this, the most outside part of the track, and then brake still in 4th gear, bringing it close to this curb. I carried a bit too much speed here, so it was a little mistake. Then putting the power down, and again you want to bring the car all the way to the most outside part, hitting the curb, but don't hit the red sausage curb. It's gonna make the car very unstable. It's gonna be very difficult to control it. And then you're gonna turn in flat without dropping the throttle to this curb right here, where you're gonna cut it like that. You can make a lift for it. It's gonna be very difficult without a lift, so you will measure how good this corner is by how little your lift is under throttle. And for the last corner, use all the track. I even use here this dirt part, and it's not an off track, so you can get away with using this without getting an off track, which I recommend, of course, because it's gonna be quicker. You're gonna carry a lot more speed. And in short, that's a track guide of Hockenheim with the F4. I hope you have a great week ahead, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.